I said I'm ballin', I'm ballin', I'm about my own thing. I'm about my own thing. I'm about it. I tell her to suck, she gon' suck me. I tell her bring it back, she gon' bump me. She get.
Hey yo, what's good, you guys? You already know who it is, man. It's Boomer with Bali Star, and today we is getting into Cartman and Heidi, the psychology of a toxic relationship. You feel me? Now we already know, who played the part of the toxic into the relationship. You feel me? Like, come on, man. Y'all think it wasn't gonna even end up that way if Cartman ever got into a relationship? With the way his mind is programmed, with the way his wires are crossed. We just saw it for the first time in action, during that season. I don't know if Cartman has ever had a girlfriend before Heidi. So, if not, yeah, that was the first time we've seen it. In 2D. You feel me? I was about to say 3D, but, still. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, bro. Let's get straight on into it, bro. Cartman and Heidi. The psychology of a toxic relationship. Bow! I be doing this. Let's go.
As you may remember from my previous psychology video, Cartman is a pretty horrible person just in general. And no matter how bad I felt for him after seeing his future at the end of the Return of COVID special, I will still acknowledge that someone of his character, at least in this timeline, would undoubtedly be one of the most evil people to ever exist regardless of age. Because of these traits, you would imagine someone like this would find it pretty hard to have anyone even find them likable, let alone want to start a relationship with them. But when someone like this can catch the right person at the right time, when they're more vulnerable than ever before, the outcome can be devastating. And with Cartman and Heidi, we got to see the outcome of this perfect storm of events unfold on our television screens in a way that is rarely seen in other forms of media. And as horrible as this relationship was, it's an important look into how these types of situations can come about, and a cautionary tale to those who may find themselves in a similar situation. So with the intro out of the way, let's get into it. Cartman and Heidi, the psychology of a toxic relationship.
What do you mean? Her fat, as fat as hell.
You may remember in season 20 of South Park, Denmark leaks
the
private browsing data of the trolls to the internet for anyone to see. The trolls could have avoided this completely if only they had been using today's sponsor, Private Internet Access VPN. As someone who has had some major violations
that was
of my
such a
recently,
smooth plug.
I'm a huge proponent of it. For hiding, talking, in the description psychology start. If you'll once again think back to that video, I came up with an unofficial diagnosis for Cartman in terms of what causes him to behave the way he does, and in my unqualified opinion, Cartman fell into the category of a narcissist. And because of this, as we progress through the different stages of their relationship, I will be referencing this list I found on the website Healthline that goes into 11 signs that the person you're dating is a narcissist. I'll be using it to compare the actions we see from Cartman throughout the relationship, and I'm sure there will be no issue with that, as I'm sure this article was written by an actual psychologist.
Don't do it.
Okay, that was supposed to be a joke, but upon further research, I realized this article was actually verified by an actual doctor of psychology. So, never mind, I guess we can take everything this article says as gospel. Even from the moment they started dating, Cartman and Heidi's relationship was built on shaky ground. Heidi decides to quit Twitter and any other form of social media by throwing her phone off a bridge. Cartman has all of his devices destroyed by the other boys after they accuse him of being the notorious internet troll SkankHunt42. Because of these circumstances, Heidi talks to Eric, as she can understand what he's going through. She feels bad for him, and their writers make it clear that that's a big factor in forming their future. They form a friendship over their lack of connection to the internet and eventually even begin to date. And this is where we get to the first sign of dating a narcissist, being initially charming. Obviously, being charming isn't enough to call someone a narcissist, but in the context of how this relationship plays out, this is clearly an early sign of what's to come. From the moment Heidi talked to Cartman for the first time, he was saying everything she wanted to hear, repeating over and over again how she's so smart and funny. Specifically funny, because as he is quick to remind everyone countless times throughout Season 20,
girls rule, women are funny, get over it.
Now, to the untrained eye, this may seem genuine, as he's in love for the first time, and is experiencing all the emotions that come with it. But we're talking about Eric Cartman here. Every little compliment and repeated mantra of smart and funny is calculated, building Heidi up by telling her how awesome she is, making her believe that she's special to him.
Is this nigga
All
serious?
of this
Dude,
building
I
up
gotta
is
watch that
done with
episode
the
again. Like,
foresight
bro.
of how it can be used against her later.
Oh,
and we'll
that's
get to
Heidi's
that.
room.
But in the second half of Season 20, we begin to see the first cracks in the facade Cartman is putting on. When he finds out Denmark plans on releasing the internet history of the entire world, he panics because of some emails he sent to Butters about women not being funny. Knowing that Cartman has been lying to Heidi about women being funny gives us our first taste of a trait that will get much worse later on, and that is manipulation and gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
This shows that from the beginning, Cartman has been using the women are funny line to manipulate Heidi into liking him more. But as I mentioned, this is only the beginning. Throughout the rest of Season 20, he begins to believe that all women are the same, and that they plan to make men irrelevant. Because of this, Cartman is a bit more hesitant around Heidi for the remainder of the season, but there's nothing outstanding that happens that would show that he's not interested in her anymore. The opening of Season 21, however, is when we get to see his true intentions come out.
Oh, hey babe, what's going
Yep,
on?
when you get used to the relationship.
Hey everybody, so I'm teaching an online acting class.
Oh, word?
But it's not just a class, it's a class project. And what
Yo,
I
this
mean by
dude
that is,
hard, yo.
Starting off the new season, we see a drastic shift in Cartman's behavior around Heidi. While previously he was excited to see Heidi, now he seems completely deflated and exhausted at the thought of her even existing. And I've seen a lot of people question what exactly caused this change. Why did Cartman all of a sudden become so unhappy in his relationship when this was him before? Well, the answer is actually pretty obvious when you take into account what a narcissist would be looking for in a romantic relationship. That is, control. Because a narcissist only considers their own needs, they'd be more drawn to people that are easier to control, to do exactly what they want when they want. And from the very first scene of this season, we see Cartman has gotten exactly that in a new form. Cartman now has an Alexa, and it gives him everything he wants from a relationship with Heidi. A personal servant that listens to his every command without question and is smart and funny. I mean, this basically renders Heidi completely useless in his mind. Also, they basically spell it out for us in this clip.
You're so... Alexa, define subservient.
The term subservient has several uses. As an adjective: 1. Compliant and obedient to authority. 2.
Alexa, silence!
So then if Cartman basically has everything he wants in the form of a talking AI, why does he keep Heidi around? Well, because he still enjoys that feeling of control I mentioned earlier, but more importantly, staying with Heidi strokes his ego. Narcissists thrive off of putting others down to boost their own ego, and he knows that if he keeps Heidi around, he can do this to her all he wants. And the mental abuse just gets worse from here, as later in this episode, we see another sign of his narcissistic side come out, the gaslighting. He begins to call Heidi mentally abusive, accusing her of basically everything he himself is doing, like building her up to tear her down. This gaslighting is strategic, making himself out to be the victim in a situation where he is clearly the problem. If he can make Heidi believe that he's the victim, then it shifts the blame away from himself and the cycle can continue. Unfortunately for Heidi, it does work, and she apologizes for everything, even though she's done nothing wrong. Cartman actually ends up breaking up with her, once again gaslighting Heidi by claiming she's playing the victim. This is all just another power move, as he clearly intends on getting back with her. He's just doing it to further incept the idea that she's abusive into her mind. His mental manipulation of Heidi worsens in the next episode, when it's revealed that he begged Heidi to take him back, threatening to end his own life if she doesn't. This is a pretty classic manipulative behavior, common in toxic relationships, as it puts the person getting manipulated into an unwinnable situation if they believe the other person might actually do it. And of course, this is another sign of a narcissist, panic when being broken up with. There are countless more examples of Cartman's manipulative behavior, such as accusing Heidi of cheating, pretending to be a suicide activist to stroke his own ego, and literally trying to murder Heidi by taking her on a walk through the woods dressed as Hansel and Gretel when they know there's a witch on the loose.
Dude, that
Okay, that one's pretty funny just because of how absurd it
fucking
is.
costume on
Anyways,
Eric, though, bro.
if I listed
I
everything
could
in this
die.
video, it would be 30 minutes long. So let's go ahead and move on to the outcome of all this abuse.
Oh, hey, babe, what's going on?
So I've been talking this whole time about how Cartman has been mentally abusive towards Heidi, but I haven't really talked much about the actual effects the abuse has had on her. Episode 7 of Season 21 opens with Cartman once again threatening to end his own life if Heidi doesn't get back with him. He tries to blame his actions on everything besides himself, eventually saying his anger is caused by his blood sugar since he eats so unhealthily. Heidi propositions a vegan diet, and he agrees to it to keep their relationship. He begins to feed her non-vegan food, lying to her, telling her it is vegan. She begins to gain some weight, and Cartman is constantly ridiculing her for this, once again putting her down to make himself feel better. We get our first real look into Heidi's feelings about the relationship when Kyle gets involved and tries to explain to her that people like Cartman will always victimize themselves to have the edge over others. She explains how she was in a vulnerable place when they started dating, and she kinda just went along with it. Now she's been defending him for so long that she can't imagine facing anyone if she actually broke up with him. This type of mindset is very common in not only toxic relationships, but abusive ones, as the victims have experienced so much abuse and manipulation, they feel trapped in their situation with no way out. Kyle actually talks her into breaking up with Cartman, but when she's ridiculed by her friends for ever being with Cartman, she gets defensive and returns to him. It's just like the title of the episode, she's doubling down. She doesn't want to feel like an idiot for being in the relationship, and when her friends make her feel like one, she wants to prove them wrong. At this point, being trapped in a relationship with a narcissist, Heidi has two options in her mind. A, she can continue on in this relationship as it is now, horribly emotional since Cartman is always trying to make her think she's a bad person, or B, stoop to his level and use his own tactics against him, play the victim even harder than him. She chooses the second option, and this leads her to becoming a near clone of Cartman. She's built like him, she talks like him, is a jerk to everyone like him, and manipulates people like him. She's even better at being Cartman than Cartman is, because, as Mr. Mackey puts it,
she's kinda like Cartman, but with the ability to follow through.
Oh, dude.
Oh, dude. Whoa.
She's truly become a terrifying force to be reckoned
Ability
with.
to follow through.
It even escalates.
I would like to see how the former principal would act, seeing that, saying would react to that.
Mental abuse to physical abuse, as now they're fighting in the hallways of school. She's truly outdone Cartman in her ability to play the victim, a feat which is equally as impressive as it is terrible. This all comes to a head in the final episode of Season 21. Throughout the episode, they pass by significant locations throughout Cartman and Heidi's relationship, and she slowly begins to put the pieces together. By the end of the episode, she finally realizes what she's become. She realizes what Cartman has turned her into. And while she can recognize Cartman's part into making her into the person she is today, she also blames herself. She understands that she let the idea of being a victim overtake her life and become who she is. She realizes Cartman's train of thought. If you're always the victim, you can justify being a horrible person. She understands that the only way out now is to stop feeling sorry for herself and move on. She breaks up with Cartman on the spot. He tries his tactics of threatening his own life, but she doesn't buy into it anymore. She allows Cartman to play the victim for the last time, telling him she's done doing the same, and she walks away, ending it for good.
If you always make yourself the victim,
Nigga just goes crazy, bro. He doesn't malfunction, but he goes crazy.
While Cartman has done countless horrible things over the years, something about his treatment of Heidi will always stick with me as particularly evil. The way he took a girl who was so kind and caring and tore her down over and over again until she was an unrecognizable shell of
It's like he tore her down to build her up again as a different person, Tore down her gentle kindness and built her up into like a freaking victimized asshole,
former self just hurts my soul. And I think it's because of how well they portrayed the psychology of a relationship with a narcissist. Most of Cartman's horrible actions are played for laughs or shock value, and they don't have the same impact because there's always a degree of separation from reality that makes it feel just absurd enough to laugh at. But with this relationship, at times, it felt too real. Like, I was really watching the slow breakdown of a girl's mind at the hands of a narcissist. It makes you think about all the people experiencing the same thing out there in the real world who may never come to the realizations Heidi did. If you're out there right now experiencing something like this, don't be afraid to get help and move on.
South
It's
Park,
like the writers
man.
are saying in the message behind this relationship.
If you're hitting all
you can't
topics,
fix people like this, so don't
both
try.
real,
And now, hopefully,
unreal,
we all have a better understanding of
and
the
what could be
psychology of
foreshadowing.
a toxic relationship. Well, that was a pretty depressing ending. Here's a clip of Cartman doing a towel call to lighten the mood.
Hey, maybe we better do a towel call. That's a towel call?
Alright, you guys, so that was Cartman and Heidi, the psychology of a toxic relationship. Everything said in this video was facts, yo. And yeah, like he said, like that that type of content, you know what I'm saying, of like the toxic relationship in regards to, like, you know, Cartman always playing the victim and Heidi taking that trait, you know, from him, from being in that relationship, and also playing it better in some cases. That shit is very, very real, you know. And some people are past the point of no return when being years in that relationship, in that mind state, in that thinking, you know. So yeah, bro, he definitely hit the nail on the head with this. Y'all let me know, like, you know, any situations you guys might have come across where that had happened, you know, so whether it be a friend, you know, family or so. Like, let me know any people that you know of that are in that relationship and or in that mind state, you know, of always playing the victim, you know. Alright, so yeah, bruh, it's Booming with Bali Star, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one. 100.
I said I'm ballin', I'm ball, I'm ball, I'm ball, I'm ballin', I'm ball, I'm ball, I'm ball my own thing. I'm my own thing. I'm about it, bout it, bout it. I tell her to suck, she gon' suck me. I tell her bring it back, she gon' bump me. She get fucked wild, I'm a buckwheat. No strings attached, she just cuff me.